Right now, you are sitting somewhere. And you didn't choose that position consciously. You just landed there. Legs crossed, feet flat, ankles tucked, legs spread wide. You've probably never given it a second thought. But Carl Jung would. Because Jung believed that the body never lies. While the mind constructs careful masks, while we choose our words, manage our expressions, and perform the version of ourselves we want the world to see, the body moves from a different place entirely. The body speaks from the unconscious, without permission, without filters. And right now, the way you are sitting is saying something about you that you may have never been able to put into words. Stay with me, because this is not just about posture. This is about who you really are, when the performance stops and the real you takes a seat. Carl Jung spent the better part of 4 decades mapping what he called the unconscious mind. Not the mind you manage, not the self you present in meetings, at dinner tables, in Instagram photos. The self beneath all of that. The one that operates quietly, constantly, beneath the surface of everything you say and do. Jung found something remarkable. He found that the unconscious doesn't just speak in dreams and symbols, though it does that too. It speaks in the small things. The doodle you make when you're distracted on a call, the chair you choose when you walk into a room full of empty ones, the mug you always reach for first, the corner you gravitate toward at a party. These micro choices, these tiny, unscripted moments are not random. They are messages, whispers from the deepest layer of who you are. And how you sit, that might be one of the most consistent, honest, and revealing whispers of all. In this video, we are going to explore 5 sitting positions, positions that millions of people around the world default to every single day without a second thought. And we are going to map each one to a Jungian archetype, a deep, fundamental personality structure that shapes not just how you sit, but how you see the world, how you relate to others, how you handle power, intimacy, failure, and ambition. This is not a casual quiz. This is a mirror. And before we begin, I want to ask you to do just one thing. Don't think, don't adjust, don't perform. Simply notice. How are you sitting right now, at this exact moment, before your mind had a chance to intervene? Hold that. We're about to begin. Here are the 5 positions. Position 1, legs crossed at the knee. One leg draped casually over the other, the foot hanging loosely, the body turned slightly inward. Easy, fluid, self-contained. Position 2, both feet flat on the floor, legs parallel, hip width apart, hands resting on the thighs, spine upright, composed and deliberate. Position 3, one ankle resting on the opposite knee, the figure 4, wide, grounded, open, taking up space without apology. Position 4, both legs spread apart in a wide V shape, feet planted, relaxed in posture, but rarely relaxed in mind. Position 5, ankles crossed and tucked close together, knees nearly touching, still, contained, quietly controlled. Look at those 5. Which one is yours? And more importantly, which one does your body always come back to when you stop managing it? Because that is the one that matters. That is the position your unconscious chose for you. And here is what it has been quietly telling the world. Position 1. Legs crossed, one knee draped over the other. You lean back slightly, not disengaged, just creating a little distance between yourself and the noise of the room. If this is your natural position, and you know it is because you always end up here, then Carl Jung would have recognized in you something rare and quietly extraordinary. The archetype is the dreamer. Jung described what he called the introverted intuitive, a person whose dominant orientation is toward the inner world, not what is in front of them, but what could be, not surface meaning, but the current beneath the surface. You process the world through impression before fact. You walk into a room and you feel it before you understand it. You absorb information that most people don't even know is available. You read between lines that others don't notice are there. People describe you as perceptive, thoughtful, quietly creative, a little hard to fully reach. What they rarely understand is just how loud it is inside your head. Because while you appear still on the outside, crossed legs, distant gaze, a face that gives very little away, inside there is a constant, layered conversation happening, a running commentary on everything you observe, the shift in someone's tone when they're uncomfortable, the subtext beneath what people actually say, the energy in a room before anything has been said. You are always noticing. This makes you an extraordinary reader of people and situations. You are the person your closest friends come to when they need to be truly understood, not just heard. Jung called this the gift of intuition, the capacity to receive information that exists beyond the reach of the five senses. You think in stories, in patterns, in metaphors that suddenly make the complicated feel simple. You are a natural artist, even if you've never picked up a paintbrush, because artistry isn't about medium, it is about the courage to see the world differently and to trust that vision. When you follow your instincts, you are almost never wrong. The problem is that you've learned, perhaps over a long time, not to fully trust them. But Jung believed that every gift casts an equal shadow. And for you, the shadow of deep perception is this: retreat. Because when the world feels too harsh, too subtle, too loud, you disappear. Not always physically, but emotionally, psychologically. You can be sitting in a full room and be completely unreachable. And some part of you prefers it that way. The crossed legs, that subtle physical barrier you create between yourself and the room, is not accidental. It's the body mirroring the psyche's most practiced move, a quiet, elegant retreat from a world that doesn't always know how to receive it. Jung called this the introverted retreat, the soul turning inward to protect its richness from a world that doesn't always know how to receive it. But here is the shadow's challenge, and it is a significant one. Your vision, everything you see, everything you feel and understand about people and the world, it does not count if it stays inside. The world cannot receive a gift that is never offered. Lean forward occasionally, literally and figuratively. Uncross those legs. Let someone else see, not all of you, just a piece, what it looks like inside that extraordinarily rich inner world. Your perceptions are not just for you. If position 1 is yours, drop a 1 in the comments. I'd love to know who you are. And stay, because position 2 is the one that the world consistently underestimates, and that is the world's mistake. Position 2. Both feet flat on the floor, legs parallel, hip width apart, hands resting on the thighs, spine upright, composed and deliberate. If this is your position, and you likely sat this way on purpose without even realizing that was a choice, then Carl Jung would have seen something in you that most people in your life have probably felt but never been able to name. The archetype is the Sentinel. Jung's typology describes the sensing, judging type, the builder of reality, the person who does not wait for inspiration to descend from the sky, who does not float through life on possibility and feeling. You construct, you plan, you execute. While others are still deciding what to prioritize, you have already mapped the first 4 steps, anticipated the 2 most likely obstacles, and blocked time in your calendar for each of them. Your mind works like a precision instrument, processing reality as it is, categorizing it, ordering it into actionable sequences. You value honesty, punctuality, follow-through. Your word, once given, is iron. You are the person who remembers the deadline that everyone else forgot, the person who sends the follow-up email, the one who, when a project is in danger of collapsing, quietly steps in and holds it together. Jung described this as the harmony of sensation and judgment, the rare capacity to see reality as it actually is, and then impose intelligent, lasting order upon it. You build things that endure. Relationships with you are reliable in a world that has very little of that. Your consistency, quiet, unglamorous, steady, is one of the most powerful forces in any room you enter. In a world of people who pivot constantly, who overpromise and underdeliver, who confuse busyness with productivity, your presence is stabilizing. People trust you.
often more than they can explain. And here, Jung would pause, because the shadow of structure, deep ingrained structure, is rigidity. For you, the world has a correct way and an incorrect way, an efficient path and a wasteful one. And when life, chaotic, contradictory, beautifully unmanageable life, refuses to conform to that structure, it does not merely frustrate you, it unsettles you at a level that runs deeper than most people realize. Jung called this the trap of the judging function, mistaking order for truth, confusing the system with the reality it was built to serve. Your systems are brilliant, but systems are not living things, and people, messy, contradictory, unpredictable people, resist full categorization. Growth resists full categorization. Love most certainly resists full categorization.
Categorization. The shadow question for position 2 is this. When the right answer isn't in the plan, what do you do? When the most important thing you need today is the thing that can't be scheduled, that doesn't fit the color-coded system, that looks from the outside like wasted time, can you choose it anyway? Leave one thing unplanned this week. Not everything, just one thing. Let a conversation run past its allotted time. Say yes to something with no clear outcome. Allow a little healthy disorder to water the garden of your extraordinary discipline. The most extraordinary things in a human life almost never arrive on schedule. Drop a 2 in the comments if this is you. Now, stay, because position 3 is the one the room always notices first, and it has a shadow that almost no one sees coming. Position 3. One ankle crossed over the opposite knee, wide, grounded, open. The moment someone sits like this, the room notices. Not always consciously, but the subconscious reads posture before it reads anything else. If this is your default position, and chances are someone has told you to sit differently at least once in your life, then Jung would have seen in you a very specific, very powerful archetype. The archetype is the warrior. Jung's warrior is not primarily about aggression, it is about engagement. The warrior meets the world face to face, fully, without retreat. You don't observe from the periphery. You are in the thing, whatever the thing is, completely. You have opinions. You express them without waiting for permission. You don't fold under social pressure because you made a decision at some point in your development that being genuinely right is more important than being universally liked. You thrive in high-stakes environments, not because you need chaos, but because high stakes reveal character, and your character, when tested, is the thing you trust most. Competition doesn't intimidate you, it focuses you, it shows you what you are made of. Jung described the warrior's gift as psychic courage, the willingness to engage with reality as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. You take up space without apology, and something remarkable happens because of that. You quietly give others permission to do the same. You are decisive when others hesitate. You move when others deliberate. You commit when others are still weighing options. In a world full of people who know what they want but cannot bring themselves to reach for it, your directness is a form of liberation for everyone around you. And here is where Jung's shadow work becomes most important, because for you it is most easily missed. The warrior's greatest threat is not an external opponent. It is the moment when the battle is over and the warrior cannot lay down the sword. The figure 4 stance says to anyone reading it, I am ready. But ready for what exactly? And for how long? In collaborative settings, in friendships, in romantic relationships, in spaces where people need to feel heard rather than led, that constant readiness can read as dominance, as someone who is winning a conversation that the other person did not know was a competition. Jung called this the inflation of the warrior archetype, when strength stops serving something meaningful and becomes an end in itself. The shadow challenge for position 3 is honest and specific. Can you put down the posture when the situation is asking for something different? Can you be the warrior and the listener, the bold one and the one who waits? The next time you are in a conversation that does not need a winner, shift your position. Uncross the figure 4. Lean slightly forward. Soften your jaw. Not because you are less powerful, but because the highest expression of the warrior is knowing when strength means opening, not holding the line. Position 3, drop a 3 below. And now, position 4, the most widely misunderstood of all 5. Position 4, both legs spread wide, a relaxed V shape, feet planted. To the outside world, you look laid back, unhurried, easy. But here is what most people get completely wrong about you. Your mind is anything but quiet. The archetype is the explorer. Jung described the extroverted intuitive, a person perpetually in motion, not necessarily physically, but mentally, conceptually, creatively, always in forward momentum, always slightly ahead of the present moment. You are in this conversation and you are also already thinking about the idea this conversation sparked, and the project that idea could become, and the version of yourself 3 years from now who built something extraordinary from this exact moment. You live in possibility. You see connections between things that appear completely unrelated. You sense the shape of the future before it has a form. You walk into a room full of half-finished ideas and immediately see what they could become. You generate more creative energy before noon than most people access in a week. Jung called this the gift of extroverted intuition, one of the most expansive and generative orientations a human mind can have. You are a natural visionary, not in the grand performative sense, but in the quiet, constant sense of always seeing beyond what currently exists. Your presence opens things up. Rooms get bigger when you are in them. Conversations go further. People leave feeling like they'd been thinking too small. Your capacity for big picture thinking, for seeing the whole when others are lost in the parts, is genuinely, functionally extraordinary. But Jung always returned to the shadow, and for the explorer, it is the shadow that almost costs you everything. Because the same mind that sees everything simultaneously often completes nothing fully. The wide open stance, legs spread like a landing strip for incoming inspiration, reflects something beyond creative energy. It reflects scattered focus, 100 open tabs, projects at 70%, ideas that would have changed your life if only they'd made it across the finish line. You have felt this. Someone in your life has pointed to this, and somewhere beneath the next great idea, there is a quiet, persistent awareness that you have left a trail of almost finished things. Jung called this the puera e eterne, the eternal youth, the archetype of perpetual beginning, always in spring, never quite reaching harvest. The shadow challenge for the explorer is exact. Your potential is enormous, but potential without completion is just biography. What would happen if you stayed with one thing, fully, completely, imperfectly but done before the next idea arrived? Give yourself a container, not to limit what you are capable of, but to concentrate it. A river is powerful not because of its water, but because of its banks. Your ideas need banks. Choose one, just one, and protect it from interruption until it is real. Position 4, drop a 4 below. And now, position 5, the one that most people sleep on, the one that deserves your full attention. Position 5, ankles crossed, legs close together, nothing wasted, nothing on display. Composed, contained, quietly controlled. If this is your position, and you know if it is because you felt a slight impulse to adjust the moment I described it, then Jung would have seen in you a very specific, very powerful archetype. The archetype is the magician. In Jungian terms, the magician is not a performer, not a trickster. The magician is the one who understands systems at a depth that others cannot access.
who sees the levers beneath the surface of reality, who plays a long game that most people around them haven't realized has already begun. You are quietly confident in a way that needs no audience. You do not need to declare your ambitions. You do not need external validation to confirm your worth. You know what you are building, and that internal knowing is enough. You observe far more than you speak, and when you do speak, it lands differently than when others do, because everything you say has been considered. Nothing leaves your mouth that was not chosen. People find you magnetic and difficult to fully know simultaneously. You are the person in the room that others describe later without being able to fully explain why they remember you so clearly. And some part of you, if you are honest, is entirely at peace with that. Jung described the magician's gift as transformation through understanding, the rare ability to change situations not through force or volume, but through the precise application of insight. You are strategic without being cold, ambitious without being desperate, patient in a world that rewards speed. You play the long game, and you are right to. The long game is the only one that actually matters. Your emotional self-mastery is extraordinary. In crises, you become more composed than less. While others unravel around you, you find the still center and hold it. This is not suppression. This is not performance. This is mastery. And the quiet confidence you carry, the kind that doesn't announce itself, people feel it when they cannot name it. And they trust you, often more deeply than louder, more performative people, and they frequently cannot explain why.
Jung wrote extensively about what he called the persona, the carefully constructed mask we build to navigate the social world. For most people, the persona is thin, slightly performative, easy to see through on close inspection. For you, it is seamless, and this is where the shadow lives. Because at some point, for many people who carry the polished anchor posture through the world, the mask becomes so perfectly fitted that even you lose track of where it ends and the real self begins. The crossed ankles, the measured expression, the precisely chosen words, they protect you, but they also insulate you from being truly seen, from the kind of intimacy that requires the mask to lower, even for a moment, from the experience of being known, not admired, not respected, not recognized, but known. Jung's deepest shadow challenge for the magician is this: who are you when there is no one to appear composed for? Do you know that person? Have you let anyone else know them? The long game you are playing, does it include anyone else? Or is it, at some level, a game played entirely alone? You do not need to perform openness. That would just be another performance. But find your one person, the singular human being for whom the mask can lower, not fall, not shatter, just lower, slightly, enough to let something real pass through. Because the magician who operates entirely in isolation is not stronger for the solitude. They are just further away from the transformation they are most capable of creating. The greatest work of the magician is never done alone in the dark. It is done in the presence of someone who is changed by witnessing it. If you are a 5, I want to know, because position 5 people almost never comment. They read everything and say nothing. Prove me wrong. Before you leave, I need to tell you something important. Carl Jung was not interested in putting people in boxes. In fact, he spent the last decades of his life actively warning against it, because the entire architecture of his psychology, all of it, the archetypes, the shadow, the unconscious, individuation, it was never designed to label the self. It was designed to liberate it. Jung believed that every one of these archetypes lives inside every human being. The dreamer, the sentinel, the warrior, the explorer, the magician, all 5. Somewhere in the complexity of who you are, each one exists. The position your body defaults to, the posture it finds when your mind stops managing it, that reveals which archetype is currently leading your life. Not all of who you are, but who is at the front right now. And that matters enormously, because sometimes the archetype that has been running the show is not the one you consciously chose. Sometimes the warrior has taken over when what the moment needed was the dreamer's patience. Sometimes the polished anchor is anchoring itself to solitude when what the heart is actually asking for is the explorer's willingness to leap into something uncertain. Jung called this lifelong process individuation, the slow, secret work of becoming whole, of learning to move between these parts of yourself with intention rather than being unconsciously driven by the loudest one. How you sit is a small window into a very large, very important conversation, one your unconscious mind has been having about you, quietly, faithfully, and honestly for your entire life. The question is never, which one are you? The question is, which one are you ready to become? Tell me in the comments which position is yours. Be honest with yourself, not the one you aspire to, not the one that sounds best, the one your body actually chooses when no one is watching, when the performance is over and the real you settles in. Because I read every comment on this channel, every single one, and I want to know which archetype is leading your life right now. And if you want to go deeper, if today felt like the beginning of something rather than the end, I've linked our previous video right here. Because what you discovered today is only the first layer. There are dimensions of who you are that go far beyond a acidic position, and we are going to explore every single one. If this video spoke to something real in you, share it with someone you care about, not for the algorithm, because there is someone in your life who is sitting somewhere right now in a position they've never thought twice about, and they are ready to understand themselves a little more clearly. Maybe that someone is you. I'll see you in the next one.